Welcome everyone to our episode of Fireside Chat. And today we have Vicki Paris Goodman, and she's going to share with you her next book. Vicki.
Hi, Kim. Thanks for having me. And I'm really excited to talk about this book because it was recently published. It's called Speed Bumps and Other Impediments to Life in the Fast Lane. And it's really about the trials of life from the point of view of a pretty extreme type A personality. That would be me. And it's funny because I really have no idea whether I was born with these type A tendencies and I suspect that there really came from a feeling of powerlessness in childhood. And I think a lot of other type A's who may not even be as extreme of a type A as I am can really relate to this book. I think there is some guilt and shame from some of the behaviors that we exhibit as type A personalities. You know, impatience is the big one. Pretty much all type A's get impatient at some time. And we all know that that's not a good thing. We need to develop patience, and it ain't easy, not for the type A. So, I think there's some shame, and I think it's really good for us to know that we're not alone. So this book is for other type A's to identify with some of the really ridiculous things. You know, some things not so ridiculous, but some are really ridiculous behaviors that I have exhibited in my life as a type A. And I think the type B's out there who are really grounded, more relaxed types that have type A's in their lives are very perplexed by some of the motivations and behaviors of those type A's that they deal with day in and day out. And I think this book will help to at least explain um, where those motivations and behaviors originate, where they're coming from, to help them to maybe even help their type A's. And I say help, I think type A's, at least the extreme version like myself, could benefit from some intervention at times. I know Sam used to he used to be pretty liberal with it. He was an extreme type A, type B. And he'd say, Vic, you can't act like that. You can't treat people like that. You can't talk to people like that. Well, I just did. That was the kind of thing that we'd banter back and forth when I got particularly frustrated. Let's say, I'm talking to some company, customer service off on the phone, and I'm getting very frustrated, as we all do. Well, the type A doesn't do well in that situation. Type B's take it in stride. So,
I love that you actually are talking to the choir because I am you and my husband is your husband
yeah.
personality. So I've always been told that I have been a bull in the china shop because I get her done. I get things done. But as I have transitioned into this new role, I have learned and I am learning because I'm getting like I've really learned how to hone in how to manage a business and build Fortune 100 businesses, right? Because I used to work in companies for 35 years, helping them transform, right? A lot of times it was a break fix or a merger and acquisition or whatever needed to be done. And I had large teams. And so it was easy for me to lead teams and empower teams. But now that I actually am leading through collaboration, right? And I'm empowering people to leave their legacy. I have to really stop and look at myself because people will not come to me if I'm a bull in china shop, right?
That's
And
right.
I love that you say that about oh, this is just amazing because it's like we are just, mirrors of each other. Um, but it's been a really good journey for me because I'm really diving into feeling, emotions, somatic, which is that the physical, how I'm reacting physically. It's not woo-woo. And also, when you talk about religion, you and I talked offline earlier, and we also talked in the other fireside chat that we had last week. You talked about religion, and I don't want to dive into religion unless you do, but that's the other space where it's, I don't know if it's spiritual or the connection to God or however you want to say it. Everyone says different things and has a different way of higher being, whatever. But that's the exploration of space where I'm becoming more wise and educated. And because I didn't have time to, I was always been a person to have this tin on. I call it, I was like the Tin Man and Dorothy, right? In the Wizard of Oz, where I've learned to cover my heart, so and my throat, my speaking abilities. I'd speak when I the way I needed to speak in the situation in corporate, right? And so now I'm actually able to speak from my heart, but first I need to release that tin. And some of that is a lot of education because I've covered it up all my years. So just what do you think about that and what comes up for you?
Well, what comes up for me is a question because I've never thought of it that way. I don't know if that tin, as you put it, that kind of protects your heart and keeps you from connecting with yourself, your true self. I don't know if that is really a typical uh, thing with the type A. What do you think? You think because I don't think I was that way.
You're right. I am a type A, but I was trained because I worked with executives to be the male energy, right? In the male dominated field of corporate, in the leadership roles. And I had to morph into working with different, and I say energy because we all have the female male energy. It's not that we are,
Mhm.
because we look like one way, we are one. I have the traits, the characteristics as a male. So, which means I'm being very dominating and I'm very stern and I'm very, I factual, like I kind of, the data driven person, I guess. I don't know how else to explain it. Not to say all
Yeah.
males are like that, but that's just, that's what I've learned to do. So you're right. It's not that the type A is actually the 10, but what I'm saying is I've had to learn because I was in this male dominated industry. I've had to now learn to release the 10 so that I can get into the person who I really am. The type A personnel, the awareness that I'm being dismissive or being the bull in the china shop is the only way I can do that is removing the 10 first for me. And
Right.
then I get into, oh, I'm a type A. I know I'm a type A, and ooh, I'm impacting. It didn't fall right to that person. So I need to
Right.
recommunicate it, right? Where before I would say, okay, teams, we got to get this goal achieved. And, do you agree to do this and whatever needs to be done? And all teams were moving forward, right? On the train, on the ship.
Yeah.
And that worked great. But now it's like, now I have to sit back and go, come back to me because not everyone's going to want to run on a ship with me.
Yeah. And you know what, Kim? You make a good point. The type A is not a negative personality trait in its entirety. In fact, type A's are among the most productive people out there. Maybe they are the most productive people out there. We're always getting stuff done. And we work, if the deadlines are there, we work faster and faster to make sure we meet it. Whereas the B personality will work at one, steady speed, regardless of deadlines. So, there are some really good things about the type A. I'm extremely assertive. Most people shy away from conflict, oh my God, I can't approach so and so about that. I'll just let it go. No. Uh, this type A was always very assertive. The the thing that you got to be careful of when you're a very assertive person and you're a type A, you need to be careful of things kind of descending into aggression. There's a line between assertion and aggression, and I have sometimes crossed it, and I'm not proud of that fact. So this book is a real tell-all. I have friends of 40 years or more who have read the book and said, I thought I knew you, but I'm not sure I did because I just tell it all in this book. I don't care what people know about me. I want them to know everything, the good, the bad, and the brutal. And so there it is.
I love it. Well, everyone raise that book up again. The book
Oh,
itself, the link will be in the comments here. Go get Speed Bumps. It looks like a really good book and I can't wait to read it. Thank you,
it's
Vicki.
fun. Thank you, Kim.